My brother-in-law wanted to bring his secret girlfriend to our wedding. I forbid it.
The wedding reveal? That's a hard reveal right there. Not so secret.
Yeah, she's not going to be secret after that. My husband, male 29, and I, female 27, have been debating putting this on here for a while, but something happened today that we thought we would like your opinion on something.
This is fresh.
This just happened.
This just dropped.
All identifying details will be removed as a precaution. Be prepared, this is a long one, and we will post updates as they happen. By the way, this comes from user NoFilm6737 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, now for the backstory. My husband's parents are divorced. The reason for their divorce was cheating. The cheating happened not long after father-in-law's mother, my husband's grandmother, passed away from cancer some years ago. She was sick for a long time, but the loss was hard on everyone, especially my father-in-law, male 55. My mother-in-law was going through her own difficult time, and neither of them were in a great position to support each other. My father-in-law, as a result, sought solace elsewhere, and while nobody condones what was done, there has been some understanding because of the mitigating circumstances. My father-in-law was reasonably wealthy, but in the messy divorce, the court fees, lawyers, and work complications, and the division of assets, my father-in-law lost most of his wealth and had to live very frugally after that. Since the remarriage, father-in-law started working for himself and has gradually regained his wealth, which will become relevant later.
Riches to rags to riches.
Yeah, that's welcome to America.
Yes, sir.
A few years later, my father-in-law gets remarried to another woman. She was aware of the circumstances surrounding his last divorce, but very much got his side of the story. They were, by all accounts, happily married, and the cheating looked like a one-off mistake that he had learned from. A little over 2 years ago, my brother-in-law, male 24, decided he was going to pursue a career as a professional soccer player in the UK. While he had been talking about wanting to do this for a while, it went from ideas to leaving in a month rather suddenly.
Oh.
My husband, then boyfriend, and I thought it was a little odd at the time, but just chalked it up to when opportunities present themselves and left it at that. About 6 months later, step-mother-in-law went to visit brother-in-law in London and help him set himself up. Up until this point, he was living with family and friends in the UK on a supposedly short-term basis, but 6 months had passed and he hasn't converted his driver's license or found a job or signed with a team or found a place of his own.
In his defense, it's only been like 6 months, right?
Well, I mean, 6 months is probably a long enough time to get some kind of momentum going.
Yeah, 6 months, not that long.
Anyway, let's get back. He was very happy for father-in-law to bankroll his new life in London.
Of course.
After this visit, contact with brother-in-law quickly fizzled to nothing.
Really?
My in-laws would text us asking if we had heard from brother-in-law, but the answer was always no. Before the communication tapered off to nothing, we assumed he was off finding his own life and happy for him to do so. Not long after step-mother-in-law got back, hubby proposed and we began wedding planning.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Historically, hubby and brother-in-law were close, so hubby naturally asked brother-in-law to be his best man, and he accepted. Wedding planning was complicated for a couple of reasons. We live in Australia, and hubby and I live on the other side of the country to hubby's parents and extended family, and hubby's surviving grandparents are sickly and frail and wouldn't travel well. Further to this problem, I grew up outside of Australia, and my family would have to travel internationally to attend, which they weren't keen on. Just for reference, the distance between our city and hubby's family is about a 5-hour flight. To try and make things as fair as possible, we decided to host the wedding in our city, so that way everybody needed to travel. Hubby's grandparents would have a domestic 5-hour flight, and my grandparents, who are a little more able, would have an international 9-hour flight. Lots of flight time here.
There is a lot of flight time,
Yeah.
and I don't know if the grandparents who are described as frail are able to do a 5 to 9 hour flight.
Well, a 5-hour flight across Australia is definitely better than the drive. That's those are your two options. Either that or get on a boat, which is also probably not going to happen.
I'm just saying, any travel at all might be a lot.
It's going to be rough. My extended family, with the exception of my granny, decided they could not be bothered to come, which is another story for another day. And hubby's grandfather's health deteriorated, but by this point, it was too late to cancel. So we did a small wedding here for my family and our friends, and do a vow renewal type thing in hubby's family city for his grandparents' benefit. Last year, I got the impression that hubby's stepmom wasn't doing well, but she wouldn't share why, and this went on for months. At first, I thought it was just the lack of contact between brother-in-law and the family, but then she changed her last name on Facebook to her maiden name, and that clued me into the fact that it was more to do with the marriage than brother-in-law. When this happened, I spoke to her again to see if she was okay and asked her what was going on, but she continued to insist that she couldn't tell me, and I left it at that.
There seems to be like a lot of things going on in the shadows.
Yeah,
here.
well, now it's like the Facebook drama of like changing your relationship status from like single or like together to like it's complicated.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're like, is there anything going on?
Low key,
like,
it's kind of what she did. She like changed her maiden name. She's like, no, what? Nothing.
She's like, why are you asking?
Yeah,
Everything's
I
great.
can't tell
Dandy.
you. Everything's fine. I can't tell you. In June of last year, brother-in-law out of the blue decided to visit for the first time since moving to the UK in April of 2022. He was coming to attend a friend's wedding, but expected father-in-law to fund his last-minute travel expenses. Hubby and his stepmom were against this, but father-in-law did it anyway. Hubby and I were then asked to visit them. While we had no objections to the visit, we were short on money at the moment and couldn't afford the flights. Father-in-law then generously offered to pay for the tickets, and we duly went. The point of the trip was for hubby to mediate the tense relationship between brother-in-law and their parents and hopefully go some way to mend that relationship. I felt like it wasn't my place to get in the middle of his family drama, but hubby didn't want to go without me. It was clear that the relationship between brother-in-law and stepmother-in-law has deteriorated substantially, but previously they were very close. Stepmother-in-law felt like brother-in-law had replaced her with the family friends he was staying with in London and felt that he was hiding something. But beyond that, details were vague. He's hiding his secret family in the UK, apparently.
Yeah. As everyone does.
Yeah, everyone. Riley always says, it's like you're allowed one secret family as a warm up before you actually get married.
That's fair. And well, in every country.
Well, yeah, I think.
Or is it like in general, or just like I get a family in Portugal, I get a secret family in the UK.
I think in every country we might be a little generous.
Okay.
But
you get 5 secret families, but they have to each be in a different country.
Yeah, and each one has to go better than the last one, probably. Yeah, if you start to backslide on your secret family quality, I think it's time to call it quits. He seemed to have promising leads with a team that was going to sign him and was focused on starting his career, or at least that is what he told us.
Hey, to all the naysayers, i.e. Dakota.
Hold on.
Dakota.
Hold on.
He's doing it.
We've got more story for him to turn into a liar, so let's figure that out.
You better hope.
After a few days, hubby and I flew home, and a couple days after that, brother-in-law went home, promising to put more effort into keeping in contact and to be back for our wedding. The contact promise was short-lived. Almost as soon as he left, it dropped off again.
Dang.
We found out later that brother-in-law has been dating the daughter of these family friends, which are even more wealthy than father-in-law, and found himself in a rather comfortable position where he gets to sponge off of them too. They fund all sorts of lavish European holidays and gifts, and has given him their shopping car, which is a Porsche.
Oh.
Yeah, so brother-in-law is not doing anything. Brother-in-law's team is his, like, the parents of his partner right now.
But he found a great secret family. You gotta admit. This is a fantastic secret family.
I think does it count if you just get taken in as, like, a refuge? Like, a refugee? Like, this is your refugee. Oh, son, you don't even know what it's like to be rich. We'll let you go shopping in the Porsche.
I think that's why you find a secret
like a
family to be taken in. And
this is usually it's the other way around. This family has taken him in as a secret, like, son.
Count your blessings.
So after father-in-law and stepmother-in-law found him an apartment to rent in London and paying the rent for him for over a year, he decides that he's going to move back in with the family friends because he wants to live with his girlfriend. As far as brother-in-law knows, hubby and I are unaware that he even has a girlfriend. Around Christmas last year, we finally got to the bottom of what's going on between father-in-law and stepmother-in-law. Turns out, as I'm sure some of you may have guessed by now, father-in-law was cheating.
Again.
No way.
I'm shocked.
But this man had to take it to a whole new level of gross. He was paying for the pleasure. Using wife swap websites, among others, and even had a couple on retainer so he could get preferential treatment. He would lie to my stepmother-in-law and say he was going to business meetings and seeing potential new clients when he would be going to different hotels, meeting with these women and leaving. As it turns out, father-in-law has always had a performance issue and needs pharmaceutical help in that department. There's no shame in this.
There isn't.
Let's not go out of our way to not shame the man cheating on his wife.
Yeah. We're just...
For God's sakes, we could shame this man. There is no shame in this. But why get the encouragement from your wife to see a doctor and get the medication only to use it on sex worker? Stepmother-in-law confronted him and after initially denying what happened, admitted it and said that he was glad she knew because now he doesn't have to lie about it.
He should have just, in the first place, he could have just been transparent, and it would have been so much easier to cheat on your partner if they helped.
The best way to cheat on your partner is to break up with them and then do whatever you want.
That's not cheating, Dakota. You don't understand.
That's why it's the best way to do it. Stepmother-in-law hired a PI and has all the receipts because this initially sounded too insane to be true. Wait. What?
He's like, I'm cheating on you, and she was like, I'm hiring a PI to prove you're cheating on me. He's like, no, I am.
Guess sometimes it's so unbelievable where it's like, sometimes you're like, I got to make sure you're not yanking my chain here.
This is either like an awful joke or this is a harsh reality.
Maybe she thought it was a secret family. She threatened to leave, but he is threatening her and saying that if she does leave, he will leave her destitute, which considering Australia's new no-fault divorce policy is actually possible. So on top of everything, we also have financial abuse. Father-in-law is a tax lawyer and we know how to get this done if we wanted to. Since her finding out, he is getting increasingly violent with her, which is not good. And hubby and I are concerned, but so far father-in-law doesn't know that we know, and letting on that we do could potentially endanger stepmother-in-law. Now stepmother-in-law is biding her time, consulting with counselors and lawyers, and trying to find an exit plan where she gets out safely and hopefully not destitute.
This is scary.
When she does leave, we are seriously considering going no contact with father-in-law. So now, we are about 3 months out from the vow renewal, and hubby talks to mother-in-law about her plan to visit for Christmas with sister-in-law and her fiance, and mother-in-law mentions that she's been in touch with brother-in-law. Mother-in-law is hosting the vow renewal on her farm, and we are currently in the planning stages. It is going to be small, but beautiful, and hopefully as free from drama as we can manage. I think our free from drama plans might be optimistic because after not speaking to brother-in-law for over a year, he called mother-in-law asking if he can bring his girlfriend to the event. And by the way, you can bring your girlfriend to our event every weekday at 3 p.m. PST, which is when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch.
Bring your girlfriend, your coworkers,
bring them all.
Their daughters, their sons.
All you have to do is
cousins.
tap on our profile.
Just bring them all. Tap.
And you're in.
Okay.
So before we finish this story,
and we won't cheat on a single one of you.
You know what? Actually, let's just finish this story. Yeah, we won't cheat on any one of you. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't cheat.
I wouldn't.
Yes, the girlfriend that we supposedly don't know he has. Mother-in-law, being the fabulous person she is, told him that he needs to ask hubby and I, and that it is not her decision to make. When we set out wedding planning, we made a nobody gets invited that we haven't met rule and are thinking of sticking with this. Hubby is a veteran and has some mental health issues as a result, and I have struggled with anxiety for most of my life. Current circumstances have resulted in his traveling well with mental health. So am I the a-hole? I don't even know what they're talking about. Are you the a-hole for not wanting to invite your brother-in-law's like secret girlfriend no one knows about? Out of everything in this story,
it's like
that is what the hook ended up being.
The one note about like what's like really not the point of the story at all is like the
There's
title.
So much in here that we didn't need.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's the end of that story. I'm sorry.
I've never seen you this upset.